Good morning. My nom de guerre is Timoshenko, and I am a member of the Center for Political Innovation. I first became interested in the Center for Political Innovation when the Ukraine war, I think it revolved around the Ukraine war, when I saw the synthetic left groups going along with the dominant narrative that was the only narrative in mainstream media or even on the internet as they shut down dissenting voices. And since I'm becoming a member of the Center for Political Innovation, I've had the opportunity to talk to people, which I greatly appreciate. And while I was in Washington, D.C., at the Summit Against Hypocrisy, I had the honor of meeting Jyoti Brar of the Communist Party of Great Britain, Marxist-Leninists. So some of the CPGB-ML literature was available, and I picked up this pamphlet, Identity Politics and the Transgender Trend, Where is LGBT Ideology Taking Us? It's largely a polemic from a Marxist perspective against the ideology that has been promulgated by queer theory ideologists like Judith Butler and Woke University gender studies professors. Groups like PSL, CPUSA, DSA, and various internet entities are also knowingly or unknowingly serving the bourgeois ideology of divide and conquer with the current gender ideology. This pamphlet got me thinking about the transgender phenomenon and from a more critical perspective. Do we have true equality in a class society? This notion is inherently flawed in a world where 6 multi-billionaires possess more wealth than half the population of the planet and are expending loads of money to keep the world in line with their degrowth globalist agenda. People like Soros, Gates, and Schwab have mapped out the Great Reset for us, and the transgender phenomenon figures into it. We know this when we see officers of NATO alliance who are openly trans, and we see that the government of Ukraine employs Sarah Ashton Cirillo, a trans woman, as their spokesperson for Western audiences. This is to give their neo-Nazi regime somehow a more woke appearance. And so I'd like to read to you something that Jyoti Brar wrote about understanding how identity politics is a diversion away from class politics. So, of course, it is perfectly correct to point out that the oppressive and hypocritical sexual morality of class society is a fetter on human relationships. Workers have long looked forward to a future in which love and sex are no longer mixed up with the question of class and property. But to move from this understanding that the coming social revolution will also revolutionize all our relationships with one another, not only sexual ones, to the idea that we must make sexual matters an object of primary concern before the revolution, is putting the cart well before the horse, and simply offers yet another distraction from the real task that faces us, the task of organizing the working class for socialist revolution. That, of course, is why the capitalists have been so very keen to promote the idea. Since the living example of Soviet socialism started to undermine the foundations of the rigidly enforced moral code of bourgeois society, our rulers, while helpless to stop the mass rejection of this hypocritical and repressive morality, have been quick to take the opportunity to divert workers from class questions into pursuing a whimsical idea of individual liberation that can supposedly be achieved through giving full rein to their sexual appetites, even as the hypocritical moral commentary continues side by side with the promotion of this sex as liberation lifestyle ideology. And she goes on to point out that Lenin warned Clara Zetkin of not to be distracted by discussions around sex and sexuality. Lenin said, "I have been told that at the evenings arranged for reading and discussion with working women, sex and marriage problems come first. They are said to be the main objects of interest in your political instruction and educational work." I could not believe my ears when I heard that. The first state of proletarian dictatorship is battling with the counter-revolutionaries of the world. The situation in Germany calls for the greatest unity of all proletarian revolutionary forces. So identity politics completely takes away from this unity, this working class unity. The bourgeois ideology serves the interests of the ruling class, the ideology that seeks to divide and conquer. It has always been dressed up in various guises and promulgated to keep the anti-imperialist movement weak and divided. Well-financed efforts have been undertaken on a broad scale to insert a pseudo-revolutionary mindset based on identity that shuns anti-imperialist revolutionary organization. Identity politics and the competition of oppression encourages the oppressed to embrace their differences and to make this otherness central to their outlook. Identity politics elevates one's own special oppression above all else. So I would encourage you, if you're interested in reading more, to go to communist.org and see if you can get a copy of this pamphlet. It really did get me thinking, and I started looking at other sources of information on trans ideology, such as from Helen Joyce, who wrote the book Trans: When Ideology Meets Reality. So I would encourage you to look at this. I also encourage you, some of you who are still sitting on your hands, to join the Center for Political Innovation and give meaning to your life. You can't just sit on the sidelines, and the sidelines meaning the internet, and attack other people because they have the wrong ideology. You have to unite with people on the widest scale possible. The most profound base is our working class base. That comes before identity politics. Let's keep that in mind. Go Pack Go.